Hello, I'm Vara,
And I'm Roxy.
and you're listening to VCR. Hey, Roxy, how you doing?
Hey, I'm here.
You're here. I am also here. A little, but I'm here.
Yeah, some of us had more fun than others last night.
Yes, I know you little party animal, you.
Not me, for
Being at
once.
home, be, being at home on your couch.
Man, that was a major rager last night. I was asleep by like 11,
I
before that
bet
probably.
I was I was the one out partying last night, and I know what y'all are thinking. Oh my God, you party without Roxy? Yes, yes, I do. And
We
here's
don't really party together per se.
no,
Like we
we
go and
haven't.
have dinner and
Mm,
maybe drinks. We don't really like
an event.
party.
We don't party, but last night I partied, and
Yeah,
that's all
he
I can
partied on his own.
say. Yeah. So yeah, I went with I know there's gonna be a shocker, so I do have other friends other than Roxy that I hang out
Ooh,
with. I know,
what?
right? So we went to a concert at House of Blues where I thoroughly drank way more than I probably should have.
Thoroughly had a good
And
time.
it was a nice time. It was very much a nice time. I enjoyed it. It was fun and lots to kind of take in. Like we saw a really great show. Actually, kind of got to see two shows because after we left the main show, we got in the foundation room where they're having a second show, and that was really nice. And I was like, ooh, very cool. Um, so yeah, but while we're there, Roxy, tell me this. Have you ever had those moments where you're just kind of out there and how do I put this? Just you're out there and you have this moment where it's like, "Oh, I miss this." And you kind of have like maybe a nostalgia kind of moment.
Sometimes, every now and
Sometimes,
then. It's rare, but yeah,
but you do get it every now and then,
every
huh?
now and then.
Okay. Well, that sounds good. Like last night was my night for that. It was a very nice time because me and my friend went out to see a concert. But the thing is, in my younger years, when I was doing my undergrad at UHD, me and her used to go to House of Blues all the time, and we used to catch all these really cool concerts. Um, so, for example, we saw BB King there before he passed away. We saw the Neville brothers, Aaron Neville and the Neville brothers. We had just seen a lot of really fascinating groups there, but we used to hang out there a lot, and it was so fun being there last night because we hadn't been there in years. So it was just this whole nostalgic type of thing, and it was just really wonderful. So it brought back all these super fun memories, and I was thinking to myself, how many things that we've been there, and like when getting there, and I was talking to Roxy about this earlier, like how things change, and it kind of makes you miss certain things. But
Mhm,
like we went to, of course, House of Blues, and back then House of Blues used to have a here. House of Blues is on three different floors in
mhm.
Houston. Don't know how it is in other places. But you had
I think it's like that in Dallas too.
probably. So you had the main floor, which is really where their gift shop and their restaurant was, but that's not there anymore. So you don't have that and there anymore. And I was like, oh, boo. So what can you say? It was like this moment. Like I used to remember going there and eating there, and then we'd go upstairs and blah blah blah. And
So what I remember of that is Hard Rock Cafe.
oh yeah, I think
Didn't it
that's
used to be
actually
like around the
yeah,
corner?
that was actually so no, Hard Rock
Oh,
is
that's
a
a
whole
different
other
venue.
complex. Yeah. And I don't think Hard Rock is there
I
anymore.
don't think they're around
Yeah.
anymore.
And it used to, and now Hard Rock used to be a place where we would go to grab some bites and then go next door to the concert venue, which used to
hmm
be called Bayou Music Place.
And then it was Verizon.
Yes, and then before that it was the Ariel Theater.
Yeah.
So because there used to be a cell phone company called Ariel cell phone or something like our cellular, Ariel Cellular. And they used to hold these, arenas and then we'd go to the concerts and it was great. But all this nostalgia kind of started to flood back to me. So we thought we'd kind of take a trip down memory lane here and talk about some nostalgia moments. So let me start by asking Roxy this. Is there a place that every now and then you go to that just triggers something for you?
So I know we kind of mentioned it earlier, but whenever I drive down 610
Hmm.
and I pass where AstroWorld used to be, that would make
Yes.
me sad.
Oh my
Like
God.
man, in my 20s, we used to go like almost like every other weekend. We would just roll up there
Hmm.
and act a fool. Get on the rides, have drinks. Like it was fun. It was a blast. Those were
Wow.
good times. And I wish we still had AstroWorld. I don't know that I would go. I might like once in a while, but because now I'm older and we hate crowds. We don't like being in the heat.
Yes. It's
So I
it's
probably wouldn't go enjoy it these days, but it would be cool though.
it would be. It would, and I was reminiscing about Astroworld myself, and I go through the same thing because when I pass up that Kirby area where Astroworld
Yeah.
used to be, now it's nothing but apartments. Like so many years ago, some developer bought Astroworld and they leveled it and they just turned it into nothing but apartments.
Hmm.
Uh, but Astroworld used to be this massive theme park. And some of the best roller coasters in the world were there, like the Texas Cyclone, Grease Lightning, all these other fun and very cool, right? The skyscraper. I don't
Ultra
know if you,
Twister.
oh my God, yes, Ultra Twister was amazing.
Oh,
Uh,
the Batman ride. That one was cool. That one was fun. That's
yes.
one like you stood up and
Mhm.
you just had that little seat between your legs and you were standing there holding the little things on your.
Yes, it was
That one was
that.
fun.
I think that was called Batman's Escape. And
Yeah.
then they had Excalibur. And for
Oh
a little
yeah.
bit, they had the Condor, which was that thing that used to take you up and spin you and bring you back down type of thing.
The dungeon drop.
Oh, yes, that was something else. That was something very cool. But like all these things that you used to do back then, and Astroworld was a place where we could be like, as kids, we could be, our parents would just roll us up, drop us off, call
Yeah.
us when you're ready, and then
Yeah. Well, see, and my hometown is like 2 hours away from here. So we would take like my choir, I think we
Mhm,
took a class trip up here to go to Astroworld. We spent the
mhm,
day at Astroworld and then I think we stayed at some hotel, I don't remember where, and then we went home the next day.
mhm.
Like so, I mean, that was a big deal. Astroworld was a big deal. And
Yeah, I
was it
mean,
like Looney Tune themed or something,
there
right?
was a Bugs Bunny theme for in
Yeah.
the early beginning years of Astroworld. They kind of had their own mascot, and it was this guy named Marvel McFay,
Oh, that
and
old
he was
man?
yeah, he was like a gypsy character. So Marvel McFay was a thing, and then they got rid of the Marvel McFay thing, and then it became Looney Tunes. Um, And so you had the Bugs Bunny show and all this other stuff, and they'd have Porky Pig running around. So it did become, Looney Tunes themed after a little
I
bit.
remember that's where I got one of my favorite crop tops.
Oh, really? What was it?
Yeah, it was and so I was like, I don't know, 18 at the time,
Hmm.
between 17 and 19, like somewhere in there. We had gone to Astroworld and I bought this little toddler shirt. I think it was like a 2T or 4T or something like that.
Hmm.
And it had little baby Marvin the Martian on it.
Aw.
It was so cute. And of course, I mean, for a normal baby, it probably would have fit them like a normal shirt. But for me, it was a crop top. And it was super cute. And I loved wearing that thing. And then once I couldn't wear it anymore, I like had it pinned up on my wall because I loved that shirt that much.
Wow. Wow. How very cool. And for you, I can understand why that would become a crop top. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I mean, it was easy.
yeah. Like I love this little crop. You mean that t-shirt? No, it's a crop top. Look.
You mean that baby shirt?
Yeah. Baby should go put that back. Go put that back right
When I think, and if I remember correctly, I showed it to my friend at the time,
now.
because I think I lost contact with her, but I showed her and I was like, I would totally wear this as a crop top. And she was like, you wouldn't. And I was like, watch me. So
Uh,
she basically dared me. So, you got to do a dare when they dare you. You
I
got
know, seriously, when they tell
to,
you,
especially if
hey,
they double dog dare you. Like,
oh God, has to happen. But yes, you know what else was super fun back in the day other than Astroworld? If
hmm,
you had the season pass, going right next
Water
door to,
World,
yeah, Waterworld.
Water World.
Oh my God, Waterworld was such a blast. It was such a
Oh,
blast.
so fun.
Oh, it was
Such a
like
good time.
it was
Do you remember when
immaculate.
they brought back the old man for the commercials in the 90s? And it was that like old man that was like dancing around all sporadically. Like,
Yeah, so the dancing old man. So the dancing old man is
was
different than Marvel McFay. Now that not putting
okay.
to the dancing old man came out in the 90s, which
Yeah.
was he was dancing to that stupid song back in the day. It was called the Venga Bus. The Venga Bus is coming.
Yeah. Do, 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 do,
But it
do,
was
do,
just
do, do,
without the words,
do,
and he would bust
do.
out dancing. So no,
Yeah.
early on, there's a guy named Marvel McFay. Then the old man kind of came out for promotion purposes. But yeah, Waterworld was just spectacular. It was just
Oh God.
you could spend, and in Houston, and no joke, I know people think, oh, y'all bitch too much about how hot it is down there.
It is freaking hot.
Yeah, Houston is legitimately one of the hottest cities in the nation. So that's not a joke. I mean,
Mm.
you come here preparing for a heat stroke type of thing.
No,
Oh,
seriously.
yeah, you really do. But Waterworld was such because like if you got overheated at Astroworld, you could just
You
run
just
over to
go.
Waterworld,
Hmm.
cool off in the pool, then go right back to
Hmm.
Astroworld and jump
Ride the
the
ride.
rides and have a good
Yeah.
old time. But Waterworld had this massive wave pool, and then they had a lazy brook thing, and they had all these water slides you could go down, and it was just an incredible place to be.
It was just a
So,
water park inside the theme park. It was
mm-hmm,
great.
mm-hmm. And here's the beauty of it. Like that area was always packed, and it still is to this day, an always packed area.
Hmm.
Because not only was it Astroworld and Waterworld together, but the eighth wonder of the world was also located right next to it. The Houston
Astrodome.
Astrodome. Dome. That was right next door to it. And back then, the Astrodome was, it really is, and still is historic because it's the first covered sports complex to be built in the United States. So the Houston Astrodome was an architectural feat in itself, but it was also the place where you played all the sports. So if you're going
Mhm.
to any sporting event, it was happening at the Dome. And that was going to be whether it was rodeo back in the day, the Houston Oilers, the Houston Astros, all of them played at the Dome. They you didn't have anything else. It was the Dome. The only thing that was held outside the Dome was the Houston Rockets. And that back then, do you remember this, Roxy? Tell me if you remember. The Summit.
Oh, I did.
Back then, there used to be a concert complex called the Summit, but the
Hmm.
Rockets would play out in the Summit. And then the Summit is also where you went just for like all the big name concerts, you went to the Summit. If it wasn't at the Dome, it was at the Summit. Or it used to be, now, God, I'm going to go way, way back on this. And the truth is, I forgot the name of the complex, so never mind. Uh,
Ah,
So we'll just move on. But it'll come to me.
anyways.
It'll come to me later. But yeah, like absolutely, it was one of the biggest complexes you ever had was the Dome. But like some of the most famous and most historic concerts also come out of the Summit. The famous one that everyone talks about is Parliament Funkadelic and the Mothership because they actually had a mothership drop from the ceiling onto the stage. And that was done at the summit. And they never did it again because of all the mechanical issues that they had with
Oh
the
God.
mothership. So, but there are things like that that were it's very nostalgic for people. And now the summit doesn't exist anymore. The summit is now, for better or for worse. I'm gonna keep my tongue shut on this one. It's now Lakewood Church.
Uh, oh
Uh,
yeah, I forgot.
mhm. Yeah, the Olsteins bought it way back when the summit at
I
some point.
won't. I'll make the faces for you.
Thank you. The summit at some point was kind of not losing a lot of revenue, and they were up for sale, and they bought it, turned it into the mega church that it is now. But yeah, now it's Lakewood Church for those of you who are interested. And actually, me and Roxy were just there not that long ago. Actually, yesterday.
Not the church,
Not the
just
church,
nearby.
no, just nearby.
To clarify.
We're yeah, we're next door at the DoubleTree because they falsely lured us in with this. Oh, it's a horror art expo, and that's what today's show was supposed to be, but
Yeah.
it was not. No,
I
no.
mean, kind
Eh,
of.
it was an art expo. It was horrible, but I don't know if it was
I
a horror.
wouldn't say horrible. It was just a
Okay.
lot smaller than we expected,
Yeah.
and not so much horror. It was anime with a
Yeah.
little sprinkle of horror.
Yeah, so we get there and it's just this one room type of situation. I thought it was going to be
Room in
bigger.
a hallway.
Yeah, and then we go in it and all we've done is we've gone won't let you take pictures and we've gone to every table just looking. Now, don't get me
Yeah.
wrong, some of that art was cute and some
Yeah, there
but
was some really cool stuff in there that I've never seen before. So I was like, that is so cool.
and
But
I was even having nostalgia moments there because like some of the art takes you back. You know, like I so they had a lot of Star Wars art, but we're talking about original Star Wars, not
the
like, you
new
know,
one.
all these weird type of things. But like they had Chewbacca kind of retired at a fireplace.
I think
Right.
that was one of my favorites. I
Oh,
really, really wanted that.
he was crocheting and I was like, "Oh, that is so cute." And then it dawned on me, there's an urn on the fireplace. It's Han Solo's ashes. I was like,
Oh, I didn't even
"Oh."
catch that.
Yeah, and then the medal that they pin on him in the first, well, our version of the first, uh, that's sitting on the mantle too, and I was like, oh, that is so. Someone put some thought and detail into that. I
Hmm.
was like that, but it was very nostalgic, even though it was a silly art piece. It makes you think about like when I was a kid, and I used to go to this little. It was a four-screen theater back in the day, over here by Northline Mall when Northline used to be a mall. But it was a little movie theater complex there, and that's where I saw all the movies like Michael Keaton's Batman, Star Wars, all these movies we see there. Species when it first came out. I mean, it was this before the movie palaces kind of started jumping up everywhere, where you got like
Yeah.
50 screens on in one building now. We used to do stuff like that, so that was kind of fun. But I was geeking out because like we got to a certain section. And I enjoy Alice in Wonderland. I'm more of a Cheshire Cat kind of guy. Uh, but they had this American McGee's Alice there, and I was like, so Roxy was probably embarrassed to see me. I was like, oh my God, American McGee's Alice! Look at it,
You
look!
were really flipping out on that hologram. You
I
were
was
like,
like,
oh my God, look at this.
look
This
it.
is so cool. He was like a little kid. It was so funny. I was like, yeah, cool. I see it.
Yeah, but for
Thanks.
those of you who don't know, so back in the day, like in the late 90s, there's a video game called American McGee's Alice, and it was a dark version of Alice in Wonderland. It was super dark, and it was like the it was just incredible. But I was like, I wasn't willing to buy it unless the Cheshire Cat was in it because he had a very particular wicked look about him, and I loved it. But he would like they had this hologram image that like different characters kind of made his face, but his face really wasn't there, and I was like, you know what, never mind.
Yeah,
Um,
so I was like, the smile's right here.
yeah, and I was like, eh,
Just two eyes.
wasn't quite doing it for me.
Nah.
So,
Like you really had to like look at it to like, oh, okay, I guess I could see.
yeah, so I rolled off with it without it. But it was nice to have that nostalgia moment taking me back to when that kind of first came back. And first came out, and then there's all kinds of things. So let me ask you this. So it's not just art, it's not just being in a place that sometimes trigger things. Is there anything that maybe you eat that triggers something of
I was just thinking
nostalgia?
restaurants.
Ah, so what do you think? What do you eat and what triggers you? Like what
Well,
thoughts flood to your
every
head?
now and then, I will get a craving for, and this is so like plain, like nothing spectacular about this dish.
Mm,
It's just ground meat
mhm.
with green beans and corn and maybe some carrots. That's it. But my grandmother used to make that for me all the time when I was a kid. And so like now I'm just like, oh, like I want to eat that. And it makes me miss my grandmother.
Mm.
Like that dish right there. Like I said, it's such a plain Jane dish, but it makes
And
me
it
feel
brings
like,
those
yeah, it
moments
brings that
back.
warmth to me. Like I love that food. Like I love that dish.
I think so. For me, what kind of trades for different grandparents is like menudo always triggers me because my grandmother on my dad's side, she would make
Yes,
menudo and she would
my
have these
grandma's menudo.
yeah, she
Mm.
would have these Sunday gatherings where she would make menudo and everyone would come over. My aunts, my uncles, all the cousins.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go play up in my grandfather's yard and all this. And but like that menudo was just so
So good.
perfect. And I've never found another place that
I,
yeah, and I never will probably.
no, no, because it's your grandmother.
Yeah,
So
it's
like, of course not.
psychologically, this is my grandmother,
No, same
nothing
for
else.
me. My grandmother's menudo. And I have this thing now, like I used to ask my grandmother all the time to teach me how to make her menudo because hers was my favorite. I
Hmm.
loved hers so much. And she would always tell me, I make it, it's so easy, but never taught me how to make
Yeah.
it.
But here's the thing, for
But
those of you who aren't familiar with menudo, menudo is not an easy task.
and honestly, I'm kind of glad she didn't teach me because I don't want to do that.
Yeah, menudo is also kind of gross.
Very
Yeah,
gross.
if you've never had it and you're curious as to what menudo is, for those
Don't look it up.
who, yeah, let me just explain it. So
Just eat it.
menudo is, yeah, you don't really want to know, but
Don't, no, just eat it. It's delicious. Just don't look up how it's made or what it is.
yeah, it's delicious, so I love it. Yeah. Um, but yeah, menudo is just to me it was great. It's an acquired taste though.
So that place, Indios that I keep telling you about,
Hmm.
I love their menudo. Their menudo is the closest thing that I have found to my grandmother's. Like it's not quite it, but it's very close.
Mm,
And it's so good.
awesome.
So like every now and then it's over there by you. It's on the other
Yeah.
side. It's like a 45-minute,
Mhm.
depending if there's traffic or not, drive from me.
Mhm.
And I will make that drive to go get that menudo.
Yeah, I hear you. The other thing that kind of triggers me is like for like I've never found a good tortilla anymore. After my grandmother passed away, like everyone who makes tortillas, it's like nothing's like my grandmother. So I've never had a good flour tortilla anymore. Uh, because my grandma to me on my mom's side made the best. Like that's always what I remember. And same thing with my great grandparents. My grandmother would be in there and she would be making tortillas, and I loved it. So I grew up. That's why I grew up so fat. It's because I was eating nothing but tortillas everywhere. I was fed everywhere. So it was absolutely wonderful. But it's just sometimes I'll wake up. I used to go to panderias. So panderias are Mexican sweetbread places.
I gained 20 pounds just walking inside of one
I
now.
know you can, you really can.
The
But
smell hits my nose, 20 pounds hits my hips. It's just,
exactly. Like that smell. Like there is no other smell in the
mm,
world like a panderia.
smells
Just
so
no
good.
other smell in the world like it. There is no other smell like a panderia. Like you go in there and that's a unique, original smell. And it always takes me back to when I was a little kid. See, when I was a little boy, my dad used to have this red, beat up, broke down Volkswagen Bug and we would go to this little rinky-dink pandaria off Quitman. And he would go in there and he'd, get the bandusa and all this, but it was such a unique smell. But I hated going over there because it never had air conditioning, so it was always hot. But like though, it just every time I smell it, I that memory gets triggered of growing up and going to that
Hmm.
place, and it was always just a unique,
And
kind of
it
memory.
doesn't matter which one you walk into, they all just
Yes. They all
Oh,
have that
smells
delicious,
so good. Yeah,
so
say it
good.
triggers me too. I remember, like, I just had a flash thinking about that smell of like being a kid holding my grandma's hand, walking into the panderia. Like,
Yeah, it just it's funny the things that trigger that like
hmm
and sometimes like it's rare when this happens because it does like everyone makes coffee, the office makes coffee, so you go in the break room it smells like coffee, but sometimes like someone makes it just right. And it reminds me of when my dad would make coffee. Like
hmm
he would be in the kitchen and the coffee would be percolating because back then you put it on a, I mean they had the electric ones, but he did his in a percolator, so he did it on a stove. So it
hmm
gave this unique smell when it was percolating. And he would just be in there like reading the paper while the coffee was brewing. And sometimes coffee will give me that trigger, but it has to be a very specific type of coffee scent, not like this, put it through the machine in the office type of thing. So, there's just something about that. So, I don't know. But nostalgia's a good thing. If y'all haven't experienced it, I recommend you go
And
experience.
you haven't lived.
Yes, you're not living, you're not doing anything.
If you're not experiencing nostalgia from time to time, then you have not lived.
Yes, because it's just now last night, and I'm gonna plug this guy's name because he was so good. But last night, being in the Peacock Room at House of Blues, we're there watching Spencer Sutherland, um, and he just tore it the fuck up. He was just amazing. Um, but I will say this it just brought back all these floods of memories when, I was younger and hanging out and partying at House of Blues and all these other places in downtown that we used to hit up. But how things have changed so much. So definitely try to remember those memories. I always recommend to people like if it's a memory that means something to you, like write it down and then revisit it like 15 years later or
Right?
or do a recording of it and then revisit it because even nowadays like even on Facebook when your memories pop up, oh that's like nostalgia sometimes all over again.
Yeah, a lot of mine are from like concerts that I went to a while back. That I'm like, oh my God, I remember that was so much fun.
And some of mine have been killing me lately because my baby Brutus keeps coming up and I was like, damn it,
Mhm.
Facebook, stop. Like but Brutus will pop up, but I had so many good memories with Brutus, going to places and doing dumb things. So it was just always great. But live. If you're not having nostalgia, you're not living. You need to do something about that and just have a moment and just enjoy the moment.
Yeah.
hmm like David Lynch said, just let the fear wash over you. But until next time, maybe you want to share some of your nostalgia with us. Maybe you remember some Astroworld stuff or Waterworld, or maybe you're in the other part of the world and you have something you want to share. Do that to the VCR show at gmail.com and hit us up on our social medias, which is the VCR show, our YouTube, and our website, the VCR show. And if you want to make memories with Roxy and take her down a trip down memory lane, you can do so by
Hit me up on Facebook at Roxy Perez Curvy Model, on Instagram at PopRocks428, and on TikTok at the Pop Rocks. And Pop Rocks is spelled POPROXX.
And as always, I'm Vara,
And I'm Roxy.
and you are listening to VCR.
Bye.
Bye-bye. You have been listening to VCR, creative content by Richard Christopher Vara and Roxy Perez. Logo by Richard Christopher Vara with assistance from Annie Ramirez. If you have any questions, comments, or concerns, you can reach us at thevcrshow@gmail.com or our social medias at Instagram and Twitter at the VCR Show. And you can also check out our content at thevcrshow.com. The show's song is Addict by Nefex, instrumental, and you can find them on YouTube Music Library.